Hi, welcome to another production breakdown video. This time the track is gonna be a remix of Ezriella's Timing that's just come out. If you haven't listened to it yet, you can do that on Spotify or hang out till the end of the video and it'll show up as the next clip. But I thought this was a really cool track when I first heard it. Ezriella's kind of really great at making these ambient worlds that feel really kind of well, they're real. They're kind of very engrossing. I found the EP that she just released really interesting. So definitely go check Ezriella out. And she was really gracious to send me the stems and let me have a go at remixing this track that I thought was kind of so, it was so interesting when I first heard it. There was lots of interesting percussion and the melody was really fascinating, really intriguing, and it just really grabbed my attention, and I wanted to both kind of see under the hood and see how the song ticked a little bit and how the production worked, which was partly why I wanted the stems, so thanks for that, Ezriella. And also partly I just wanted to have a go and see how I would twist this kind of immersive world that she'd created into something, a little bit more me, something that ended up being a bit more intense, actually, but still more chill than a lot of the stuff I normally make, which was kind of the goal. So I knew when I first listened to the track that I wanted to make the most of a few things, and the first thing was I thought there was a lot of really kind of cool ad-libby vocals that I wanted to make the most of in the track. So I wanted to organize those into a section kind of at the end as like this kind of solo breakdown thing, and I wanted the song to build towards that. And then the other thing that I thought would be really interesting would be to chop up a phrase and turn that into the main motif. A bit similar to what I did to Sam Vent's one as well, but not quite the same. I wanted to make this one a little bit more rhythmic, a little bit more repetitive, and a little bit more kind of a background kind of, almost I wanted to use it like an arpeggiator. And so I stole a little bit of it and kind of gave it this rhythm.
Always running ahead and always running ahead and always running ahead and always running always.
And I just thought that would be cool to sit in the background of everything. So I did that and
Always running ahead and always running ahead.
gave it some effects, you know? And then I really liked the drum sounds that she chose on this one, so I didn't want to mess with them too much. But so I stole the drum sounds and put them in my own rhythm. Which is pretty standard or whatever. And as I mentioned in the last one of these videos I did, I like to work in a couple of different moods before I start to flesh out the songs. So I ended up with two here. I ended up with like an A and a B, and I was going to use that as the basis for the rest of the track. So that kind of always running ahead thing was the A, and I liked the acoustic guitar as well. There was these two moments of acoustic guitar, the only moments in the entire song. That one, I think I got some other stuff, no. That one, and then this thing. And that's kind of the end of the track. And I liked those, and I thought that had a really interesting kind of spooky timbre to it. So I actually combined those together in a way and created this interesting little acoustic guitar hook. And so we had those with some bass. I did the Bad Snacks bass again. Just the Rhodes and the sine wave underneath it. Easily mixable kind of fat bass. And then I'd just seen Adam Levy and Ben Levin's 24-hour make an album live stream. And one of the things that Ben did, which is actually, he did it in Reaper, so it was really easy for me to figure out how to do it for myself, was to use a gate on other audio sources that weren't a drum and trigger the gate with a drum loop. And so I took this drum loop here, which has no audio because it's only going, it was just a random percussion loop. I think it's like a djembe percussion type thing. And I thought it was an interesting rhythm. And so I sent it to this pad that if I take all the effects off it, just sounds like this. So there's some interesting little clicks and stuff in there anyway. That was just a synth that I played in as like a drone. I rendered it out and then added in a bunch of effects. But really the thing doing the work here is this snap heap patch, which kind of turns it into this. So you can see I'm just kind of gating it with the sidechain input from the beat sample. And then it's getting pitch shifted based on an LFO, I think. Yeah. So pitch shifted based on this kind of noise random LFO every quarter note. Stereo is also panning to random spots based on that same style of LFO, but only once a bar. It shifts around the stereo spectrum. And then I just put it into auto-tune to make sure that all the little bits of the pad were going to be interesting notes from the scale that I wanted. Chucked a delay on it. Love that chorus. To widen it out a bit. And then, yeah, that's just some sidechain compression from the kick drum, I believe. And then, actually no, it's just some straight up compression. I haven't got the sidechain enabled. And then Supermassive for some really long delay. And so we ended up with, yeah, this really interesting thing. From this to that. And that kind of sits behind the texture. And so it sits behind the section like percussion, but it's pitched, which I thought was kind of a fun little thing. And then I had this B section in my mind, and that B section just used the keys, and I've pitched them just an octave up. It's like a Rhodesy thing, just from that bit. I find pitching things up kind of makes them a little bit wonky, and I was kind of in the mood for that. I thought that was going to be really helpful to kind of add to this kind of really tense vibe that I was trying to create while still also being relaxed. Yeah. And then I also took these little synth plucks from this bit. And I also just pitched those up. And again, opened up Snap Heap, love Snap Heap, really thinned it out, and then automated some formant filters into semi-random things with with the LFOs on different axes. And then I limited it for some volume, it looks like. At the end of the chain, yeah. So all of that ends up with this, with the drums and the bass there. And I thought that was an interesting little contrasting mood. So the main point behind the song that I was trying to go for is it's this song about waiting and not really understanding or knowing what God is doing, but trusting him anyway based on kind of what he's done in the past and what we know about him. And I wanted to create this kind of atmosphere of hope in the middle of tension. Like it's supposed to be this kind of tense, chill vibe, which, you know, you might think those two things are kind of opposite to each other, but I think we walked a line here of this kind of dark and yet still hopeful thing that kind of builds, into kind of this, I don't know, almost onslaught of tension, but then Ezreal's voice kind of comes over the top of that and is really kind of hopeful and strong, and I just really liked the kind of the balance that those two things created. So I really wanted to play into that. So that's all the things that I really used from the original stems, and then I just wanted to take those and essentially flesh out those two vibes into the rest of the track. So I threw some other stuff on there that's not particularly interesting. We just started out with that vibe. Little drone here in the background, just to kind of give it some context while we drop everything out of that first verse. Classic Labs Spitfire audio situation where I just throw it on there.
I made a choice when I followed you to take it step by step. It's not easy to trust the process.
Labs soft piano. And then we get to the kind of first hook here.
The thing is that I'm always running ahead in my mind.
And that's kind of the bit that I wanted to grab for the rest of it. So something interesting that I did was I really liked that piano down the center for the first bit, but then I wanted it to thicken out and get more interesting for the chorus. I didn't want it to be quite so up front and in your face. And so I took two different parts that would kind of complement each other. So one happens over here, and then in the break of that one, the other one happens over here. And they're kind of two slightly different arpeggiators. And so you end up with this really wide, interesting kind of textural pad almost. Which I thought was really cool to kind of go in this kind of big moody first bit.
Work it out, to work it out. No, I got to trust you. Not up to me to work it out, to work it out. I gotta trust.
And then we're kind of building here.
What you say.
So that's kind of the resolution of the chorus. Classic dropout transition here into the next verse. And everything kind of lands there. Just a pretty standard kind of delay throw that swells. That's pretty easy. I've talked about those things before. The song just kind of goes through there. I introduced some kind of waily electric guitar.
But it's not up to me to work it out, to work it out. No, I got to trust you.
And it kind of trucks along from there. Those are the vibes. And then we hit this. Then we hit this kind of whole other section of the song. Up till that point, we end up with a little bit of a interlude, and that's all kind of the rest of the standard stuff too. There's nothing particularly new in there, just the spacey guitar and things like that. And then from that point on, I pretty much deconstructed the rest of the track in terms of the vocals that I haven't used and turned them into essentially like a vocal solo. So I took that chop that we heard before,
Always running ahead and always running ahead and always running ahead and always running.
and so that builds into another texture. A couple of organs in the background. just kind of echoing that melody bit and giving some stereo width and impact. And then I bring in a bunch of little chops of the ad-libby type things that I heard interspersed throughout Ezreala's original vocal, and I pieced them together into this kind of big final solo type section. And the song really takes off from there with kind of a whole bunch of low end as well. So I added in some kind of low strings. And then when the thing repeats again, this gritty bass, which is really just there for like some distortion at the top end. The drums, as you can see, you've got toms. The percussion from the original track comes back. Same with the hats. And some cymbals and swells as well. And a big old pad, which is sidechain compressed. Drone comes back. And so it all kind of functions to be like every single element that I've introduced plus some extras come in. And so we go from this kind of cruisy vibe into all of a sudden a big drop basically, and Ezreala just kind of soars over the top. And we pretty much cruise from there till the end of the track. And I did a whole bunch of stuff in the mixing in terms of volume automation and compression and things like that to make that final section really kind of explode and widen out and feel really so much more intense than the other stuff. But yeah, if you want to kind of hear it and you want to feel that impact for yourself, head over to Spotify or stay tuned for the next recommended video, and it will be there for your enjoyment. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the track. I really enjoyed making it. Thanks again to Ezreala for letting me have full access to all the stems and permission to make something like this. Huge honor. I'm so grateful. So definitely go check out Ezreala's EP and enjoy her music as well. I'll see you next time.